Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to Watchbox, and thanks for logging on. If you love this watch, email me, tmosso at thewatchbox.com. It's in the description below. Your purchase and pricing email question line for buying this or any watch you see here on our channel. Reach out to me directly, tmosso at thewatchbox.com. Today, we're discussing a watch I adore, 43 millimeters in blackened and tegimented steel. This is the Sinn 757 S UTC, a chronograph, a dual time, a sports watch in every regard, and full of Sinn proprietary technologies. Let's talk about the basics. 43 millimeters in diameter, the watch is 15 millimeters thick. From lug to lug, it measures 48.7 millimeters with a 22 millimeter spacing between the lugs. Throw it on my 16 centimeter circumference wrist. You can see it's a large watch, but it's not overpowering. Being less than 50 millimeters lug to lug, it wears easy. I'd recommend it for a wrist as small as 14 centimeters circumference, and though it's definitely not thin, it'll fit just fine underneath a jacket cuff. Let's take a quick look at the strap. Sinn surpassed themselves right here, as this strap is certainly more substantial than you'd expect on a traditional utility watch, a sort of broguing, leather stitched onto leather, and as you can see, the underside is leather, the top is leather, there's a contrasting stitch. It's a gorgeous, thick, and substantial accessory, and you will note this is a brand new Sinn factory strap. Take a quick look at the buckle, and you can see it is tegimented and hard black coated just like the stainless steel case. Talking about the case, as you can see, the lines are simple, the lugs are surprisingly elegant and spare in their taper, but all of this is a media blasted finish, stainless steel, and then black coated. Let's talk about that coating first. The coating that's used is approximately 2,000 Vickers. The underlying case, which you'll note is made by SUG, Sinn's proprietary case company. They make their own cases, but the case is stainless steel that has been carbon diffused, so a penetrating treatment has been applied to the surface of the steel that elevates its hardness to over 1,200 Vickers. So the idea here is that you have a supremely hard outer coating and then a steel underneath that's not soft. What often happens with these hard black DLC type coatings is that the coating is hard, but the steel is soft. On first impact, the steel collapses and the black coating eggshells on top of it. That does not happen. All hard black coated modern Sinn watches have tegimented steel underneath. Now, the bezel. As you can see, it's bidirectional. It has a great detent. Have a listen. Rarely do bidirectional timing bezels have that sharp a detent, but Sinn is all about details. And you'll note it continues in the construction as screws are used to hold the bezel to the case. So this is not snapped on and snapped off. It doesn't have that vulnerability that you find with Rolex and Omega bezels. It must be dismantled to be removed. It cannot pop off by accident. The dial is simple, no nonsense, instrument style, and well, maybe there's a little bit of nonsense. I happen to love the use of the signal green on the dial. Easy to read. You can see it's a chronograph, but it's also a dual time. As I screw the crown out, by the way, the crown screw down, and the watch, as you can see, 100. Well, we'll talk about the anti-magnetism in a moment. First, we'll talk about the 200-meter water resistance. So here's how you operate the dual time functionality. There is a quick set in one direction for the date, and then there is a quick set in another direction for the secondary time zone. So you have two time zones, and you can hide that secondary time zone hand if you don't need it at the moment. Of course, if you pull the crown out all the way, you activate the stop seconds or hacking. Now, we talked about the hard black, the tegimented case, the captive bezel, but let's talk about the dehumidification system, AR. Historically, Sinn would have inserted argon into the case at the time of manufacture. Today it is nitrogen to displace the moisture and oxygen that might be in the case at the time of manufacture. Now, a copper sulfate capsule is inserted in the flank, and that will continuously withdraw any moisture that manages to seep in after manufacture. You can see there's a little sort of bracket-like icon in gloss black on the dial. That is because the watch is anti-magnetic. Now we can talk about that. 80,000 ampere per meter, or approximately mil-Gauss. It has a soft iron inner cage just like a Rolex mil-Gauss. And the timepiece, being robustly shock resistant, scratch resistant, water resistant, and anti-magnetic, is powered by a tank tough Valjoux 7754 in top grade, which is one down from chronometer, but Sinn adjusts these in-house, so you wind up with a chronometer grade timing watch. 48-hour power reserve, unidirectional automatic winding, 28,800 vibrations per hour, 25 joules. It is a tough cam lateral clutch chronograph, but the cam system here, again, like the watch itself, has been adjusted by Sinn on delivery, so it winds up being about as crisp as an Omega Moonwatch, or my reference for the best feeling cam chronograph on the market. This is a lot of watch. It could easily be your only sports watch with features that make it a veritable watch box full of complications and special purpose timepieces. Email tmosso@thewatchbox.com for purchase and pricing details. And we're back with the Sinn 757 UTC. You can see plenty of lume on the bezel.